4 downs, first down quarterback. This would be an opportunity for Tennessee to pick up a quarterback when all's said and done. Will they pick up another quarterback to have 3 scholarships on the roster? I don't think this says anything about Joe Milton or Nico. I just think it says 3 scholarships on the roster are significant. Same time, bumped into somebody on Friday afternoon. They said they really like Gaston Moore. So is Tennessee okay with Gaston Moore as the third string guy, as it looked like in the orange and white game, or do they need to do something now, Caleb?
I think ideally they should try to add a veteran quarterback that could bring depth, but my prediction is that's not going to happen. They had 2 scholarship quarterbacks last year. They're going to have 2 this year. They'll be fine if they seem fine if they have to go with Gaston Moore. The chances of that seem highly unlikely. So I don't think they're going to add a quarterback.
Okay, they're not going to take anybody at running back. They're stacked there. There's no question in my mind. If you have a question about who they might take, I want to get to that on our message board. But wide receiver, I would say that certainly they could take another receiver. But if you just looked at their depth chart, you would almost say they have to take another receiver. But they only play like a 1 deep regularly. They don't play even the 4th receiver unless there's an injury. They rotate the tight ends. I don't see them taking a receiver unless just the perfect one falls in their lap.
I think Josh Heupel's approach to wide receiver is similar to what an NBA team's approach should be if they have a top 5 pick in the draft, which is it doesn't matter if you need one or not. You take what you need or not. You take the best player. You don't take Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan. And so I think that Josh Heupel's approach is no matter how deep he is at receiver, he is always going to try to find more talent there, largely because, look, the most important part of Tennessee's system on offense is receivers have to be fast enough to get open. That part is key. Otherwise, the whole concept fails with the way he spreads the field. And so I don't think he needs another receiver, but I don't think he would turn down another receiver if one was more elite than what he has.
I agree. I think there could be a guy like Thornton who'd call up and say, I got lost in the shuffle in spring practice. I'm interested. Can I come by? Yeah, I think he would take that. And I think he holds a spot 2 or 3 open for those, which is not what Clemson does. Clemson just takes scholarships from its walk-on players. But nevertheless, we caught some heat for that, by the way. So wide receiver, I don't think they're aggressively out there looking. That was second down. But I think they would take one if they had the opportunity. Offensive line, let me address that. I think Tennessee kind of likes where they are in the offensive line, despite losing Darnell Wright, which is a huge, huge loss. I don't think they love where they would be if Darnell Wright was on the field in spring and had one more year of eligibility. I think they like, not love. So I think, again, it would have to be the perfect fit for them to take someone at the offensive line position. You?
I agree. I think an interior lineman is who they're going to look for more than anybody else. Jim Chaney, I remember 12, 13 years ago, this was the Lane Kiffin year, once said, a coach never loves their offensive line situation. They almost never love their depth on their offensive line. But
right. I can remember asking offensive linemen, like, how many offensive linemen would you like to have, or offensive line coaches? And I would ask them, how many offensive linemen would you like to have? And they'd say, well, I mean, at least 10. At least 10. I mean, that's 2 deep at every position. That's no shuffling. And you ask a defensive tackles coach, like, how many defensive tackles would you like to have? At least 8. Come on. You're not going to have 8 John Hendersons and Albert Hainsworths rolling in there.
No, you're not going to have that. But those are the 2 positions. Like, if you needed the most depth, like, you never are satisfied with your lack of depth on those 2 positions. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I don't think they're going to add an offensive line. I think that's not, again, they're limited on scholarships. As far as we know, they might be more limited on scholarships in the very near future. So,
yeah, and John asked about that. What do we think the punishment will be from the NCAA? So we'll close up with that. But on the other side of the ball, defense is different. I think you would take a dude at almost any position. And I was thinking over the weekend, it may be Gabe Judy Lawley, who I said, I don't care if I play in year 1. I just want to be a leader and contribute. But it had me wondering over the weekend, because you really like Trayvon Flowers, and I do too, more than most people probably out there, and the leadership that he was able to exhibit last year. I don't know that you can get a leader in the transfer portal, but would they take another defensive back, linebacker, or defensive lineman? Caleb, this sounds crazy. Yes, they would take them, but I don't think they're craving them.
No, and we should note part of this 4 downs is, as Tennessee just added a defensive line over the weekend, defensive lineman Amari McNeil has entered the transfer portal. And I think he entered the transfer portal for the same reason Jordan Phillips did in December. Those 2 defensive linemen entered not largely, I think, because Tennessee has the rotation they want at defensive line. And I don't think there was a spot for them. Now, defensive line, I think they would. Look, if you get a John Henderson in the transfer portal, you take him. Tennessee does not have a John Henderson, Albert Haynesworth on this team. They just don't. I like Amari Thomas. He's not on their level. But I think that they would take a elite upgrade if they could. But in terms of the rotation, I think they're satisfied. I think if you hold scholarships, you hold it for defensive line and defensive back. I don't even think linebacker, as bad as linebacker was this year, Dave, they added Keenan Peely and Arian Carter. I keep hearing good things about him. Aaron Beasley's back. I think they are actually Aaron Beasley's back. Caleb and Elijah Herring seem to have taken that next step. I think they're finally where they want to be at linebacker.
They will be significantly better at linebacker this year. As opposed to this time a year ago, I completely agree with you. Now, we didn't know that Jeremy Banks was going to go off the rails at some point during the year, when all's on the table and you miss a practice on Monday and then you try to start a fight with Hendon Hooker later in the week. We didn't know that. But even just, okay, so what do we – this time last year, let's compare the linebacker position real quick, and we'll get to your questions. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. We bring more people in. But you want to look just for a second at the linebacker position, not knowing that Jeremy Banks was going to have an issue off the field. I still think it's better as of April 2023 than it was in April 2022. You replace a Jeremy Banks with a Keenan Peely, who's your middle linebacker, and an Arian Carter, who's more of an outside speed guy who has a lot of upside. I would, along with Aaron Beasley, I would take this trio over what you had Banks, Beasley, and pretty much
Solon Page and Juwan Mitchell last year.
Yeah, there's no comparison.
This is a much better unit.
Yeah, and you still have those two if you need to turn to them, which I think is a real possibility. City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. As the temperatures begin to warm up, you're going to need perhaps some work on your unit. You need to be nice and comfortable. Happy wife, happy life. I can tell you that. Cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters over 50 years right there in Knoxville. Cityheatandair.com. Cityheatandair.com. City Heating and Air Conditioning. Absolutely love them. And they bring you our own Cooper Maze, which we'll have up later today. So looking forward. That is a lot going on. Hit the like button, John says. Smash it. Subscribe. Share. We want to hear that. And also, Billy Bob Cooter saying Jeremy Banks was the best wish he had stayed. Do we?
I think that's sarcastic. I think that's sarcastic.
Maybe a little sarcastic.